You're watching Phantom Astronauts, Night Terrors, where the veil between folklore and fear is razor thin. Tonight, we dive into the chilling legend of Krampus, a creature of ancient folklore whose name has become synonymous with punishment, terror, and the dark side of the holiday season. This story explores the lore, the fear, and the haunting reality behind the horned beast of Christmas night. If you enjoy these chilling tales, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to help the channel grow. Check the links in the description for more ways to support us. Now settle in as we unveil the sinister tale of Krampus. The snow fell thick and fast, blanketing the small Bavarian village in a silence so profound it felt like the world had stopped breathing. In the narrow streets, children's laughter echoed faintly, a fleeting memory of daylight. Now, the only sound was the crunch of boots in the snow as villagers hurried home, their faces tight with unease. It was December 5th, Krampusnacht. Johann Engel stood at the edge of the forest, his breath fogging in the icy air. The man was stout, his face weathered from years of hard work, but tonight he looked small, almost frail. He stared at the black expanse of the woods, the trees standing like sentinels against the rising moon. His hands clenched and unclenched at his sides. Inside the house, his wife, Marta, was lighting candles, her lips moving in silent prayer. She didn't need to tell him what she was praying for. They had all heard the stories, the whispers that flitted through the village like the wind through the pines. The warnings passed down from elder to child, growing darker with each retelling. Be good, be kind, or he will come for you. It wasn't Johann or Marta who had defied the old warnings. It was their son, Lucas, a boy of 10 with a sharp tongue and a streak of defiance as wide as the river that cut through the valley. Lucas had always been difficult, but in the past year, he had grown worse, talking back to his mother, stealing bread from the baker, pushing smaller children in the square. "He's just a boy," Marta had said one night as they lay in bed, the fire casting flickering shadows on the walls. "He'll grow out of it." But Johann wasn't so sure. And now, on the eve of St. Nicholas's visit, when the good children would receive gifts and sweets, the villagers were muttering about Lucas. There had been incidents, broken sleds, missing trinkets. And each time, the blame seemed to find its way to their door. "You must teach him," old Frau Hilder had said, her voice a rasp like dry leaves, "before Krampus teaches him for you." Johann had laughed it off at the time. But now, staring into the dark woods, he wasn't laughing. There was a heaviness in the air, a stillness that pressed against his chest. The stories were just that. Stories, weren't they? The first sound was faint, almost imperceptible, a soft tinkling like bells swaying in the breeze. Johann turned, his heart lurching in his chest. The village was quiet. No one would be out this late. He strained his ears, his breath hitching. The sound grew louder, closer, until it seemed to echo all around him. "Johann," Marta called from the doorway. "Come inside." He hesitated, his eyes scanning the edge of the forest. The bells stopped abruptly, and the silence that followed was worse. It was thick, oppressive, not the kind of silence that made your ears ring. "Johann!" Marta's voice was sharper now, trembling. Reluctantly, he turned and trudged back toward the house, his boots crunching in the snow. The moment he stepped inside, Marta slammed the door behind him and bolted it. The candlelight cast deep shadows across her face, and for the first time in years, Johann saw fear in her eyes. They say the bells mean he's coming, she whispered. That he's close. Lucas sat by the hearth, his chin jutting out defiantly. He had overheard the whispers, the stories, but he didn't believe in fairy tales. Krampus, a demon with horns and a sack to carry off bad children. It was nonsense, a story meant to scare kids into behaving. You're all fools, he muttered, poking at the fire with a stick. There's no such thing. Enough, Johann snapped, his voice louder than he intended. Lucas flinched, but only slightly. The boy's defiance had hardened into something like arrogance, and Johann felt a pang of unease. Outside, the wind picked up, rattling the shutters. Then came the sound, a deep, guttural growl that rumbled through the air like thunder. Johann froze, his heart hammering in his chest. Marta clutched at his arm, her fingers digging into his sleeve. What was that? Lucas asked, his voice cracking. Before Johann could answer, the growl came again, louder this time, closer. And then, through the frosted window, they saw it. A shadow, tall and hunched, moving through the snow. The figure was massive, its horns curling toward the sky, like the branches of an ancient tree. It walked with a slow, deliberate gait, dragging something behind it. A sack. It bulged and writhed as if something inside were alive. The bells tinkled again, their sound discordant, almost mocking. The door rattled as if struck by a great weight. Marta screamed, clutching Lucas to her chest. Johann grabbed the fire poker, though the metal felt pitifully small in his hands. Stay here, he said, his voice trembling. He moved toward the door, every step of the battle against the rising tide of terror in his chest. When he reached it, the rattling stopped. The silence returned, thicker than ever. And then, a voice. Deep, guttural, and layered, as though a dozen throats were speaking at once. Johann Engel, it growled. You have raised a child who mocks the season, who defies the light. He will come with me. No! Marta's cry was raw, desperate. She clutched Lucas tighter, but the boy was trembling now, his bravado gone. You will not take him, Johann shouted, gripping the poker like a sword. The door splintered under a single, tremendous blow. The creature stepped inside, its horns scraping the ceiling, its red eyes glowing like coals. Its face was a grotesque mix of goat and man, its mouth filled with jagged teeth. The stench of sulfur filled the room. Lucas screamed. Please, Johann said, dropping to his knees. The poker fell from his hands, clattering to the floor. Take me instead. The creature tilted its head, considering him. The bells on its belt jingled softly as it stepped forward, its hooves leaving scorched marks on the floorboards. It reached out, one clawed hand, grasping Johann's chin. You would give yourself for him, it rumbled. Yes, Johann whispered. He's just a boy. Please. The creature leaned closer, its breath hot and foul. There is darkness in him, it said. But your light is strong. I will take you. Before Johann could respond, the creature lunged. Its claws pierced his chest, and Johann's scream filled the room. Marta sobbed, clutching Lucas as the creature dragged Johann toward the door. He didn't struggle. He didn't fight. He only looked back at his wife and son, his eyes filled with love and fear. And then he was gone. The village found Marta and Lucas the next morning, huddled by the hearth. The door was shattered, the floorboards scorched. and outside, in the snow, were hoofprints that led into the forest and vanished. Johann was never seen again. Lucas never forgot that night. He grew into a man who lived quietly, humbly, always lighting a candle on Krampusnacht and whispering a prayer into the cold night air. And though he tried to forget the creature's face, he could never escape the sound of the bells. Thank you for joining me on this chilling journey into the legend of Krampus. If tonight's episode of Phantom Astronaut's Night Terrors left you looking over your shoulder, remember to like, share, and subscribe to help the channel grow. Don't forget to check the links in the description for more ways to support us. This has been Phantom Astronaut's Nocturnal Tales. I'll see you out there.